In a hall filled with Nigeria's top minds in finance, development and governance, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele chose to mark his 50th birthday not with flair or confetti, but with a public lecture. From the IMF's representative for Nigeria to the heads of NESG and IPR, the Nigeria Customs Service, FIRS and top media executives across the country, the guest list was star-studded with prominent names in policy making and its collaborators. But this moment was not just about titles, it was about the need to fix the inefficiency in Nigeria's tax administration. As chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele has been at the center of one of Nigeria's most ambitious changes in recent times. This birthday commemoration gave him the space to reflect, not just as a reformer, but as a citizen who still believes things can work.
Today is a day of celebration, but it is also a day of reflection and renewed commitment. I'm honored and humbled to stand before you, not just to mark another year in my journey, but to share ideas about the future of our country that demands courage, creativity, and conviction from all of us. Each birthday reminds us that time moves forward, but progress is never automatic. This journey has reminded me that boldness is not the absence of fear, but prioritizing vision over comfort. Hope or faith is not enough, and they're not strategies. Intent must be matched by crafts. Policies are not what we say, but what we actually do. So it's not enough to write down the policy, we must implement with sincerity.
Mr. Oyedele emphasized the two certainties of life, quoting Benjamin Franklin, death and taxes, and interestingly how many Nigerians try to avoid both. But his message was, the damage a broken tax system causes touches us all.
Our tax system suffers from archaic laws and a complex administrative structure. There is trust deficit even between and among governments. Low tax morale and widespread evasion resulting in a very low tax to GDP ratio, one of the lowest in the world for many years. Businesses, large and small, are overburdened with multiplicity of taxes. There is poor accountability for taxes collected and how they are utilized, and there is weak fiscal exchange as taxpayers often see little or no benefit. Tax reform can help us address some of our most pressing national challenges. Imagine a tax system that is intelligent, with a robust beneficial ownership law, unexplained wealth order, assets and liability declaration that is robust, conflict of interest reporting and declaration, and ensuring that doing business with government makes sense in terms of the rules.
He insists real policy is not just what's written, it's what's done, and for reforms to last, they must be inclusive, practical, and people-centered. He also urged Nigerians to move away from crowd-pleasing commentaries and instead seek deeper understanding before criticism.
The people must seek first to understand, because ignorance compounds vulnerability and steals opportunities. We must think independently, ask questions, engage, and most importantly, criticize constructively with the sole aim to build, not to tear apart our nation. To paraphrase Nelson Mandela, wishing that your government fails or thinking ill of your country is like taking poison and then hoping that it will magically kill your enemies.
Thank you very much, sir.
The event featured a robust panel: the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, the CEO of Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Presidential Advisor Hadiza Bala Usman, and the IMF country rep. Each offered honest insights into what bold decisions this administration has taken and how it points the country to the path of economic growth and prosperity.
Taking a deliberate position on accelerating and diversifying the economy through non-oil exports and specifically leveraging the African Continental Free Trade Area, that policy or that agreement, making it the mainstay of our trade policy, has seen a 24% increase in non-oil exports year on year for Nigeria and has shown incredible potential for our non-oil exporters, in particular across the continent.
One of the things that I felt was not done in the right way regarding the policy speaks to the fact that there had been existing trust in that regard. There have been historically executive orders that spoke to prioritizing the procurement of Nigerian products. There have been several types of First Nigeria initiatives that have been announced, that have started. So we need to look at what went wrong, how were we unable to have that Nigeria First being implemented in the last few years, that initiative has been done. So I think looking back and ensuring that anytime you're proposing a policy, you need to walk back to see what has been done before, what went wrong, how do we fill the gaps to ensure that this initiative and this policy is actually done properly.
In general, if I have to just take one main thing, it will be the fact that we are moving away from a social contract whereby the country was not taxing much and the population was not asking for much. So, and the country was really fueled with subsidies everywhere, exchange rate subsidies and fuel subsidies, etc. Now, what they are trying to do, our understanding at the IMF of what they're trying to do, is really to have a new social contract that Taiwo was talking about. There will be an increase in taxation, better taxation, but then what we see at the IMF is taxation to spend more. And this is where they are going. When you hear what the administration is saying, they're talking about, we want to raise revenue to spend even better.
This is a very bold government. So when you discuss one bold reform, you can point to several bold reforms. Subsidy removal was historically unprecedentedly bold. Removal of historic multiple FX rates with foregone premiums up to 65–70% was historically bold. So I think the president is a very bold reformer. And I think we need to celebrate that in Mr. President. You can give him a hand if you want, but I think you should. But the third thing about reforms is that you have to authorize a group to do serious work and get out of their way. I think Mr. Oyedele mentioned this, that one of the things the president did not do was to send us any, yellow notes on his interest. We worked for a year and a half plus with zero interference from Mr. President. And I think that's important. So let's give him a hand, because political authorization is one thing to say, do it, something else to authorize it to happen.
We were not done with him.
Goodwill messages followed from the president of NIPR, the Minister of Finance, and the chairman of FIRS, all echoing Oyedele's dedication to positive development.
It's not just about being able to put together a good program, a good plan. It is about implementation, as Doctor said. It is about perseverance. Public office, particularly at the highest levels, is an honor. It's a privilege, a very rare privilege. And the least that it demands is sacrifice. You have shown that in an extraordinary way.
The bill, by God's grace, in a couple of weeks now, will be assented to by Mr. President, then implementation starts. And if you listen to Mr. President's speech on the day of inauguration, he said this is not a committee that will do. You propose and you implement. And that is what I'm saying, that congratulations for the first half that has been done, and I'm welcoming you to the real work. And I know the one you just ended now was timed. I'm not sure the other one will be timed. God Almighty will strengthen you. And when we are doing your 60, by God's grace, it will be the real gain.
The man who carries the message is as important as the message. Taiwo is a good messenger. He has a mien about him. He has a way of carrying difficult things and making it appear so simple. That's why I said he confused some people. Because when you look at his face, you will mistake him to be a jambite. Until he begins to bring out what is in him, then you know that he's a man who has gone through school. Secondly, unknown to us, a new dispensation is coming. When we were growing up, many of us will recall, when you hear about the tax man, I learned it from my parents. When you hear about the tax man and you are still standing, you are doing so at your own risk. So we grew up seeing the man that represents taxation as a wicked, mean man. But now, in a new dispensation, we are seeing a tax man that smiles.
But it was not all just talks. There was also the screening of a documentary on Abolarin College, a vocational school founded by Oba Adedokun Abolarin to educate and empower children from undeserved communities. For Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, the ceremonial cutting of the cake to celebrate his 50th birthday was placed at the tail end of the event schedule. The priority for him was explaining the necessary reforms of the President Tinubu administration and highlighting the need to support these economic initiatives. Smiles and hugs literally filled the room, but more importantly, so did hope. Hope for a system that works and a country that can still get it right.